You may have heard whispers going around of a new build, and you probably got excited when you heard about it because maybe this is the build where you can stop zooming around like a monkey on crack, or at the very least it'll be a bit easier to play. Maybe this is finally a no-mover build that you won't get ridiculed for using. Well, I have bad news for you. It's neither of those things. And in my opinion, it's nothing more than hype. I'm going to tell you exactly why I think that, where it falls short, and I do think we have to touch on the root issue of this that leads to these waves of excitement, but then ultimately disappointment. Right, so this is the build. Yep, it still has momentum, it still has initiative and essence break, it still has Unbound Chaos, it is suspiciously missing fury generating talents. I mean, we've got Demon Blades, Tactical Retreat, Sigil of Flame, and Blind Fury, which I guess is enough, but hey, remember those Blind Fury nerfs coming in 10.0.7? So already, this build is, or will be, at a handicap. It doesn't go into Cycle of Hatred or Shattered Destiny, so it doesn't even benefit from those not-so-obvious silver linings that we spoke about in the previous video. I'll put a link to that up in the top right corner. Another major red flag is that it starts to go down the right side of the tree, taking Immolation Aura talents like Growing Inferno, Burning Wound, and Ragefire without actually following through down into any means necessary. So if you feel like your Ragefire damage isn't quite up to par, well, just wait until that Immolation Aura damage that's being funneled into Ragefire isn't actually amplified by your mastery. Instead of Ragefire explosions, you're gonna get little spurts of green dust. Now, while we're on that topic, let's talk about Burning Wound. You may have forgotten how this talent was changed in Dragonflight, because now you don't really have to think about it. It was changed so that Throw Glaive now spreads Burning Wound up to 3 targets. So this happens naturally with the left-right Throw Glaive build, the only build that uses Burning Wound at the moment, by the way. So without taking any Throw Glaive talents in this build, you want to avoid pressing that button at all costs. Meaning to spread Burning Wound, we're going to have to resort back to the good old days of Shadowlands and start tab targeting through our enemies to spread that dot. Sounds fun, right?
But the actual gameplay behind multi-dotting your auto attacks is not what you really want to be doing as a melee DPS. And especially if you're playing, imagine if you're not playing with Demon Blades and you're playing with, you're playing just demons biting a pack. Like imagine you're doing a Mythic Plus. Right, imagine you're as a viewer, imagine you're doing a Mythic Plus and you walk up to a pack, you put up your Immolation Aura, you tab target Demon's Bite on 5 mobs, and then you I-beam, and then by the time you get inside of your demonic window, your Immolation Aura is falling off and all the mobs are dead. It's not fun gameplay.
The right side Immolation Aura talents mostly seem like a waste, so hypothetically, let's remove them and redistribute them elsewhere in the tree. And oh look, we have ourselves something very similar to the raid single target build. So yeah, we're still playing Momentum, which I know you all love to hate. We're still Vengeful Retreating on cooldown. We are still wasting Fury on Glaive Tempest without Cycle of Hatred. It's a lot of the same, but different. Oh, and by the way, this build has a different stat priority. It favors crit, which is good. We have a lot of that already. But then it also favors versatility. Yes, versatility, the stat that we've avoided completely since the start of the expansion. So you probably don't have any gear that has that stat on it. Haste is actually kind of bad for this build because we're not playing with Cycle of Hatred or Shattered Destiny, and Mastery takes a backseat because we're not playing with Any Means Necessary and Soul Rend. So it favors versatility. And yes, that means if you want to play this build optimally, you're gonna have to farm out some new gear, change your crafted gear, maybe your enchants, your gems, the whole shebang. Now, if I haven't convinced you yet, I have one more bit of information that I want to share with you. Soul Rend actually double dips on the damage bonus from the seasonal affix Thundering. Essentially, your Throw Glaive damage is getting that bonus from Thundering, and then once the dot is applied from that damage, the dot is also being amplified by the Thundering damage bonus as well. This new build doesn't really have anything that works in that way. So are you really willing to give up that Soul Rend damage? Okay, and the final negative thing I'm going to say about this build is the name. They've been calling it the Spread Eagle build. Come on, guys. You can do better than that. I mean, it is funny, but if you want people to take it serious, that name's not gonna fly. Okay, so what are the redeeming factors? Well, it takes Restless Hunter, and I guess when you combine that with some of the AoE stuff, like the half-baked Immo Aura talents and Glaive Tempest, I guess Restless Hunter suddenly becomes justified in Mythic Plus. With this build, the majority of your damage is burst. That's pretty much all it is. You have big burst every 3 minutes with meta. All of our damage is kind of gathered around that meta cooldown whenever you decide to use it. So you better make sure that you're using that cooldown on a pack that's actually going to live and you're going to get full value from it. You better not be using that meta on, say, a pack of imps in Court of Stars, because your overall damage will show that mistake. Now, even with Restless Hunter, unfortunately, you still need somewhere around 66% haste to be able to pull off that double death sweep clipping Restless Hunter trick that I spoke about in my previous video. Again, I'll put a link to that up in the top right. And you definitely won't have Bloodlust for every use of meta in Mythic Plus. The cooldowns are just vastly different. But the opener does give you 3 Inner Demon uses, which is substantial, and the upfront damage padding from Glaive Tempest is pretty big too. With that in mind, yes, this build will probably look very good on a trash pack, and you'll use it, and you'll blast it down and be like, oh, this is great. But on a high fortified week, when you're pulling multiple trash packs that are all living for a reasonable amount of time, not just that one pack you decided to use meta on, you will see a drop off in damage. And for bosses, it's not much better. It's actually much worse. I'll be honest with you, I get why players who hate the left-right throw glaive build are itching for a left-mid build that they can use in Mythic Plus. I get it. And I think this build kind of covers that ground. So I strongly suggest you try this build for yourself and see how you like it. I'm not gonna lie, it sims fairly high and performs okay from the testing that we've had. So I imagine there will be some of you that try this and just like it a lot better, and that's totally fine. Go ahead and run it. But I also want to make sure you understand why it doesn't make sense. And by learning that, you'll better understand talent trees going into the expansion, and hopefully you'll have a much better time kind of crafting your own builds and making tweaks as you go, instead of just copying what you see somebody else play. The reality is the Soul Ren build is just so good that even if you're not playing it 100% perfectly, you're still going to get great results from it. All you have to remember to do is press throw glaive. If you can do that much, then you're 80% of the way there. The ticking damage from Soul Rend can literally carry you as long as you remember to press the button. Now let's take a step back here and talk about the bigger picture. When this started circulating a few nights ago, people were losing their metaphorical shit. I'm sure even you as a viewer got excited when you saw this video or even a video posted by another creator. Everyone's looking for the newly discovered secret sauce that'll make them extra uber overpowered, which is completely natural. Listen, we all want to do big damage. We have the Giga gamers who love the current builds, have mastered them, and are just destroying the meters. Then there's the players who've adopted the new builds, but don't quite play as perfect as the other guys. That's where I land, by the way. The visible difference between an amazing player and a mediocre player has never been more apparent with Havoc, despite them doing generally the same rotation. It's the slight optimizing and on-the-fly decision-making that separates them. Then you have the players who completely hate using movement talents like Initiative and Momentum, who are literally just foaming at the mouth, waiting for news to come out of a newly discovered build where they can stand still, smash their keyboard, and amaze their friends. I'll admit that does sound pretty neat. And hey, if you agree, go ahead and fell rush your way down to that subscribe button and give it a slap. Great, thanks. But let's stop for a moment. We just got these brand new talent trees, and we've gone through so many ups and downs, buffs, nerfs, and everything in between. In the end, it's pretty obvious the direction Blizzard wants to take Havoc Demon Hunter, and we really need to stop resisting because it's just going to result in a lot of upset players. Unfortunately, the two styles of play are just vastly different, and they won't be able to appease everyone. So if you're struggling with the Throw Glaive build, instead of abandoning it and sacrificing damage for the sake of convenience, give it one more chance. Now's the time to sit down, take 20 or 30 minutes to wrap your head around it, and just master it. It is a little complex, but it's not that hard, I promise you. I have countless videos that lay it out for you step by step. Listen, if my dumbass can grasp it, so can you. Let's stop trying to bounce around from build to build, hoping we find something that does more damage and is easier to play, because that's exactly what we were trying to get away from. Havoc is now arguably one of the most complex and involved melee specs for reasons other melees don't even have to consider in their gameplay. Movement. So let's embrace that. Take pride in your gameplay, own it, and get good, so we can shed the stigma of cracked out monkeys who have zero awareness. We're better than that. If you're looking to brush up on your Havoc Demon Hunter rotation, check out this video. I break it down step by step, buff by buff. We literally go frame by frame to dissect exactly what happens every time you press a button. It's helped thousands of players, and I'm confident it can help you too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.